Welcome to another episode of Football Scientific. I am Aaron Sauter. I'm a writer for the UFL News Hub and the CFL News Hub. I cover the San Antonio Brahmas of the UFL, the Hamilton Tirecats of the CFL, and I talk about the IFL, the Indoor Football League. Those are my main gigs. I also talk about the European League of Football. Recently, I've expanded my coverage into the NAL, the National Arena League. This show, Football Scientific, has been brought to you by Shark Bites. Shark Bites is here in honor of Timmy, the trash-talking tiger shark. 2 days ago, he fought Corky the crocodile. He was injured in that fight. He's been recovering since. Since we don't have Timmy, we have to think about Shark Bites. Yeah, they're fish sticks made of ground up fish. But that's not what Timmy's made of. Timmy's made of shark. 100% shark. Okay? So Timmy's here in spirit. He's not here in person. Maybe he'll be back later in the week. It's hard to say. Depends on his recovery from his fight with Corky that he lost. Okay? Next. I had mentioned last week, at the end of last week, I was making my first ever predictions for the NAL. Week 1 of the NAL National Arena League started last week, last Saturday night. I decided to try my hand at predicting the outcomes of these games. Just to give you some background, with the UFL, I've been about 85% correct on my picks the last 2 seasons. And in the CFL, I hit about 80% correct. It's a wide open league. And then IFL, I hit about 90% accuracy with my picks. Okay? So I came into the NAL hoping to show my mastery of the NAL with my picks. And it did not work out quite as I had hoped. Okay? So, first game was on Saturday night. The Sioux City Bandits, who played in the championship game last year, traveled to the Beaumont Renegades, an expansion team in the NAL. All I had seen from either team, I saw the Sioux City Bandits play a preseason game. They destroyed the Buffalo Ridge Wildcats. I saw the Beaumont Renegades play the Triangle Seminoles. They destroyed the Triangle Seminoles. Okay? So all I knew about both teams is that they played weak competition in their preseason games. What I did see, I thought the Bandits had a good offense. I knew they probably had a decent defense. And they came from a championship season. Maybe they were ready to really step up, okay? Beaumont Renegades, know very little about them. Know they could score points, okay? Got it. So what happened in the game? I picked the Sioux City Bandits to win the Battle of the Masked Cowboys. They both have a Masked Cowboy mascot. I picked the Sioux City Bandits to win that game 65-49, okay? Got it. 65 to 49, or something like that. It may have been 65 to 42. Unfortunately, I was wrong. I was wrong in my first one. Started up 0-1. The Beaumont Renegades held on at home, and they beat the Sioux City Bandits 49 to 46. If you look at the stats, you watch the game. I watched the game and looked at the stats. I saw it was a pretty even game. Both teams came out scoring. Both teams tried to play some defense unsuccessfully. Okay, shootout back and forth. What cost the Sioux City Bandits the game? Not playing defense and 2 interceptions. The Beaumont Renegades quarterback Carl Robertson III threw 1 interception and 3 touchdowns. He ran 1 touchdown in. Okay, Eric Young scored a touchdown. He only threw 1 interception. The quarterback for the Sioux City Bandits, Verlin Reed, he threw 2 interceptions. And that second interception put him away, boop, and led Beaumont Renegades to a mild upset over the Sioux City Bandits. We won't really know how much of an upset that was until the season plays out. Okay, we'll see. Maybe the Bandits are going to have it down here. Maybe Beaumont is amazingly good. But Beaumont won 49-46, put me at 0-1 for my picks in the NAL. Next, the Omaha Beef were coming off their loss to the Minnesota Warriors, a semi-pro team that was playing their last game. Omaha's playing a preseason game. They had mentioned they didn't play their best football because they were just trying to get ready for the season. They lost to the Minnesota Warriors by 1 point, getting trash talked about them all week about how bad they were and how they're the Omaha Queef instead of Omaha Beef. That's not cool, man. Well, they went to the Shreveport Rougarou expansion team, and they beat them 41-18. 41-18. I predicted they were going to beat them 50-26, which is a 24-point spread, and it being a 23-point spread. I'm right spot on there, okay? I knew the Beef were going to come out mad. I knew the Rougarou were not going to know what hit them, and the Beef ran through the Rougarou. I'm hoping the Rougarou get it together this season. I like the Rougarou. I like their name. Rougarou! Let's see if they can get it together, but they didn't get it together against the Beef. Lorenzo Brown, an IFL legend, came in and played quarterback. Not saying he made a big impact, but they played a sound game. They played a sound game. The Rougarou could not handle the pressure of playing the champs. The Omaha Beef have still not lost an NAL game since joining the NAL. That's pretty awesome. That puts me at 1-1. Okay, 1-1. I got 1-1. Next, the Columbus Lions played the Peach State Cats. Now, the Columbus Lions have bounced around leagues. They played the NL before. They did not win the NAL. They dropped to a lower league, the AIF, something lower, and they won that league a bunch of times. They dominated that league. The Peach State Cats are a semi-pro indoor team. They play in the EIF, the Elite Indoor Football League. It's not that elite. It's not that elite. Well, the Peach State Cats traveled to the Columbus Lions and to beat down the curve. The Lions won 85-0. I said they were going to win 70-10. I tried to give the Peach State Cats benefit of the doubt they were going to score 10 points, but they didn't. They got beat 85-0 by the Columbus Lions. And what's that tell us about the Lions in the NAL? Nothing. Nothing. It tells us they played the Peach State Cats, and the Peach State Cats are not in the NAL. I predicted Columbus Lions would finish second in the National Conference and go to the playoffs. I'm sticking by that. I think the Carolina Cobras are the class of the National Conference, okay? But that puts me at 2-1. 2-1, okay? Then, last night, one more game, the Wheeling Miners and the Colorado Spartans played. Colorado went to Wheeling in West Virginia. So I didn't know anything about either team. I knew the Colorado Spartans had been one of the worst teams in the NAL traditionally. They were very bad, okay? Very bad in the NAL. The Wheeling Miners, I know that West Virginia has a strong indoor football tradition, okay? Tradition. But this wasn't that team, okay? The Wheeling Miners were not ready for this game. Why? They didn't have a kicker. They didn't have a kicker. So it ended up being a shootout, but the Colorado Spartans dominated with a running game. Their quarterback ran through the Wheeling Miners. The Miners came back. They had a good performance from their quarterback. They threw some passes. They threw some touchdowns. They ran the ball. Good all-around performance. Colorado Spartans could not throw the ball well. That's going to be trouble against the better teams in the league. But it worked against the Wheeling Miners because the Wheeling Miners had no kicker. Not a real kicker. Not one to get extra points or field goals, okay? Because they couldn't hit extra points or field goals, excuse me 1 second, it limited their ability to be successful in the game. I predicted, knowing nothing about either team really, Wheeling was going to win 48-47, okay? 1 point win. Instead, the Spartans won 49-44. Now, if you think about it, that's really close. 48-47, 49-44. I didn't know Wheeling didn't have a kicker. I don't think anyone did. And the comments, though, that was all the talking about the game. Wheeling doesn't have a kicker. And that cost them at least 5 points, probably cost them 7 points in the game. They would have won the game by 2 points. It would have been 51-49 had they had a kicker. They needed to get a kicker before the next game. That's against the Carolina Cobras on the road. Carolina Cobras will be putting the beat down on the Wheeling Miners if they don't get a kicker. And they got to make sure they don't turn the ball over. Okay? All right. So that's the NAL. That's the rundown. I went 2-2. I went 2-2. That's a 50% success rate. That's not great. There's 3 games coming up this weekend. Thursday, I'll put out my predictions for week 2. I'm hoping to go 3-0. That'll put me at 5-2, and I'll feel a lot better, okay? What normally happens is I tend to start slow in these alternate football leagues. You don't know that much about the teams. I start slow. Once I understand the teams, things pick up, okay? So 2-2, not cool. Okay, but 5-2 would be much better. Thursday, I'll put my prediction up there. We'll see if I can go to 5-2. I go in 3-0 this week. Okay, got it. Okay, next. NFL free agency starts tomorrow officially. So a lot of these announcements I've been making about who's been signed and come to agreement and all that all becomes official tomorrow. Okay, it all becomes official tomorrow at noon. So I'm going to go through today's collection of transactions that will become official tomorrow. So first, Minnesota Vikings are loading up on their defensive and offensive line. They signed offensive lineman Will Freeze. He's an offensive guard, 5 years, $88 million. That's a great contract for offensive lineman, okay? He came in after spending some time at the Colts. He was one of those players for the Colts that was an amazingly good lineman for them. And now he's with the Vikings. The Colts are losing their lineman. Next, they also signed defensive tackle Jonathan Allen. If you remember, the Commanders wanted to find a trade partner for Jonathan Allen. They couldn't find one, so they released him. So a team could have picked up Jonathan Allen for a real cheap price. He's kind of on the downside of his career as a defensive tackle. Former multiple-time Pro Bowler, though, so he has a lot of potential. The Vikings could have signed him for a cheap deal, but they instead signed him for 3 years for $60 million. That's why I was almost speechless. $20 million a year for a guy that no one wanted. I'm not sure if that's a good call or not. You know, they got a lineman, offensive lineman. They got a defensive lineman. I wouldn't have paid Jonathan Allen $60 million. I can find a different defensive lineman for $60 million. Okay, not Jonathan Allen. Not a guy being dumped by the Commanders. I don't agree with that call. Okay. Also, in addition to Will Freeze and Jonathan Allen, there's rumors that the Minnesota Vikings are talking to Javon Hargrove. He's being released by the Niners on Wednesday. They may sign him as soon as he gets released by the Niners on Wednesday. But that's a rumor. So far, my rumors I've heard through my sources have been 100% correct. Remember Sam Darnold and the Seahawks? It was rumored. Boom. Sam Darnold's with the Seahawks. Okay. So that's my sources so far. Right now, I predict tomorrow, after Javon Hargrove gets cut by the Niners, he gets signed by the Vikings. Okay. Atlanta Falcons agreed to terms with linebacker Divine Diablo for a 2-year contract, giving him $14 million, $8 million guaranteed. That'll become official tomorrow. Next, the LA Chargers have signed running back Najee Harris. That'll become official tomorrow. They signed him for a 1-year contract for $9.25 million. Last year, actually for the last 4 seasons, he's averaged 3.9 yards per carry for the Pittsburgh Steelers, okay? That's not amazing. That's not world-beating. But they have a 1-year contract, $9.25 million. That's good money for a year for a running back, and he has a chance to prove himself. This is a prove-it contract. If he can prove himself, they may extend him for longer for a lot more money. Next, the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, the Bengals, okay? Keep in mind, they have Trey Hendrickson floating out there who's looking for a trade partner but would like $30 to $32 to $35 million to be signed. That's a lot of money to give to an edge rusher, even the one that led the NFL in sacks last year. That's a lot of money. Instead of signing Trey Hendrickson, they have re-signed defensive end Joseph Asai, whose brother got signed by the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the CFL, so I've heard Asai before. He got signed to a 1-year contract for $7 million. The last 3 seasons, he's had 73 tackles, 9.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries. He's a solid player. $7 million. I probably would have paid Trey Hendrickson or traded him first. I figured something out with him first. But they signed Joseph Asai. We'll see. He's not an elite player. He's solid, though. We'll see how it pays off with the Bengals. Okay, got it. Philadelphia Eagles are trading safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson to the Houston Texans. Yes, the Houston Texans are involved in another trade after yesterday's blockbuster where they sent Larry Tunsil to the Commanders for 4 draft picks, 2 in 2025, 2 in 2026. This time, the Houston Texans, okay, they're trading with the Eagles. The Eagles are sending safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson to the Houston Texans for an offensive lineman, Kenyon Green, and a 5th-round pick in 2026. So the Texans are using one of their picks from the Commanders, and they're going to spice up an offer for Kenyon Green to be sent to the Eagles, which doesn't really, they have a great offensive line. I'm sure they need more offensive linemen. I guess they're getting more depth on the O-line. But that sends safety C.J. Gardner to the Houston Texans. They're making a lot of deals. Gardner in 2024 had 59 tackles, 12 pass deflections, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception for a touchdown. He had a good season. He's going to Houston. Maybe they're trying to build up for a push to go past, the first round of the playoffs. They're trying to get deeper into like the AFC Championship game or something. Okay? Got it. Indianapolis Colts. We'll talk more about the Colts later. But they made a surprising move. They have signed quarterback Daniel Jones for 1 year for $14 million. That can go up to 17.7. The rumor is Daniel Jones was torn between the Vikings, the Seahawks, and the Colts. He went to the Colts because he has a good chance of starting over Anthony Richardson. He wants to be a starter in the league after being dumped by the Giants last year and sent to Minnesota. He wants a chance to be a starter again. I'm going to say, knowing that the Colts have pretty much lost all their offensive linemen so far in free agency this year, this is about to be a bad story for Daniel Jones. This is not working out in his favor. I'll talk about that more in a little bit. Another thing that's frustrating with this is they're basically bringing in Daniel Jones to replace Anthony Richardson. But here's the deal. Anthony Richardson was drafted by the Colts in the first round when they knew he did not have a lot of success at University of Florida as a quarterback. He started 8 games. He was injured most of the time. He made a bunch of bad reads. Okay, they pick him because they think he's like Lamar Jackson. I don't want to get into what they thought. That's inappropriate. Okay, but instead, what is he? He's a guy who's hurt all the time, that makes a bunch of bad decisions, that gets tired during the game. Okay, now I'm not dissing on Anthony Richardson. I think it was a really bad call for the Colts to pick him up and make him a starter right now. But as we'll talk about at the end of this show, with a new feature we have, the Colts, this is not the first time the Colts have made this kind of mistake. All right, Daniel Jones comes to the Colts. He's had a 6-year career mainly with the Giants. He's thrown for 14,582 yards, 85 touchdowns, 47 interceptions, 64.1% completions. 85 to 47 is not a great number, but it's not the worst in the league. He was in a real bad situation with the Giants. I'm afraid he's in a bad situation with the Colts now, too. This is not getting better for Daniel Jones. Boop. All right. Let me get a quick sip. All right. Next, New York Giants. They have signed safety Javon Holland. Safety Javon Holland for 3 years for $45 million. Guaranteed him $30.3 million. He had played for Miami. He played 4 games for them, 4 seasons for them, and he had 301 tackles and 5 interceptions. He's a good player, and he's from Canada. That's cool. It's rare for a Canadian football player who commonly get dissed by CFL fans. They always talk bad about the Canadian players. But Javon Holland is a Canadian player who's going to get $45 million a year for 3 years, 30.3 guaranteed. That's really good. Maybe the better players just go to the NFL. CFL is still a fun league to watch. Minnesota Vikings had made a few more moves. They signed a deal with cornerback Isaiah Rodgers for 2 years for $11 million. He's going to get a signing bonus of $4.875 million. And he's guaranteed $8 million on that contract. That will become official tomorrow during free agency when that starts officially. They re-signed cornerback Byron Murphy for 3 years for $66 million. That's a great contract for Byron Murphy. That will become official tomorrow on Wednesday. Arizona Cardinals have re-signed Zay Jones, wide receiver Zay Jones, for $2.25 million for 1 year. So he has a 1-year extension for $2.25 million. Now think about this. He had 8 catches last year for 84 yards, no touchdowns. 8 catches, 84 yards. We're paying him. Being the Arizona Cardinals, are going to pay him $2.25 million with a $500,000 signing bonus and 1.15 guarantee. That's not a huge contract in the NFL, but it's way too much for a guy who caught 8 passes for 800 or 84 yards, not even 100 yards. Okay? Boom. Next, the Atlanta Falcons. They released linebacker Leonard Floyd. Okay? Nope. Yes, they signed linebacker Leonard Floyd. They signed him to a 1-year contract for $10 million. 42 tackles, 8.5 sacks last year for the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers released linebacker Leonard Floyd. The Falcons signed him for a one-year contract. I overthought it for a minute. I knew he had been released and signed. I almost had it flipped with the Falcons and the Niners, but it was the Niners he had played for. And then he got signed by the Falcons for 1 year for $10 million. That's a good contract. They also signed quarterback Mike Hughes to a 3-year contract extension for $18 million. That's good for him. Next, the Baltimore Ravens have re-signed fullback Patrick Ricard. He's one of the better fullbacks in the league. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler. They signed him for $2.9 million. They didn't mention the length of the contract. Okay, next, Carolina Panthers made some moves. They officially have signed punter Sam Martin for 1 year for $3 million. They cut running back Miles Sanders. They've re-signed offensive tackle Brady Christensen for 1 year for $2.75 million. They've made some moves. Will it be enough to turn that team around? I don't know. The Chicago Bears have re-signed long snapper Scott Daly for a 1 year extension for $1.055 million. $1.055 million. A 1 year extension for Scott Daly. Long snappers are important. You never think about them until you need them. Okay, Dallas Cowboys have re-signed wide receiver Cavante Turpin for a 3-year extension, $18 million, giving him $5.5 million guaranteed. Why is that important? That guy came from the European League of Football. He played in the European League of Football. Spin that into UFL action, which was USFL at the time. He played in the USFL. He turned that into an NFL contract, and now he's turned that into a 3-year deal for $18 million, building off what he's already done with Dallas. That's a great story from the ELF, European League of Football, to the USFL, now the UFL, to the NFL. If he can do it, other guys can do it, and that's why the UFL is important. Okay, got it. Next, LA Rams have suspended wide receiver Drake Stoops. He got tested for PED abuse. Boom. PED use. He's suspended. We'll see when he comes back. Okay. All right. New Orleans Saints have signed wide receiver Jawan Johnson. He signed into a 3-year contract extension for $21.25 million as the minimum. He can get up to $30 million, but he can also get to $35 million. Okay. So this comes down to how well he plays. That's one of those contracts I really like, to where he needs to perform. It's a lot of incentives to give you a lower base pay, which is, $21.25 million. For 3 years, that's $7 million a year. But he can play up to a higher amount. Last year, he had 50 catches for 540 yards and 3 touchdowns. I really like signing for a low base pay and then giving a lot of money and incentives to motivate people to keep playing hard and to make some plays. They also have re-signed wide receiver Dante Pettis for $1.13 million for 1 season with a 1-year extension. Okay, got it. Buffalo Bills have re-signed running back Ty Johnson for 2 years, extended him 2 years for $5 million. He joins running backs James Cook with the Buffalo Bills. They also reacquired running back Darrington Evans, who played for the Bears for the last couple of years. He played for Buffalo before. They brought him back. Josh Allen considers him to be one of the best third down backs in the league. He's a short yardage guy. He's pounded for 264 yards last year. It's not that many yards, but they're important yards. They're short yardage yards. So they don't have to depend so much on the tush-push. Okay, which did not go well for them against the Chiefs. All right, Kansas City Chiefs. Speaking of the Chiefs, they have re-signed long snapper James Winchester for 1 year for $1.65 million. He must be a better long snapper. $1.65 million is a better deal. They signed linebacker Cole Christian for a 1-year contract. They signed tight end Robert Tonyan for a 1-year contract. They didn't say how much that's for. Maybe they'll say it tomorrow when it becomes official. Okay, Tennessee Titans have re-signed defensive back Mike Brown to a 1-year extension. They didn't say how much, but maybe the Tennessee Titans are another team that don't seem to have a solid plan. They paid a tackle yesterday who gave up 12 sacks last year, and they paid him $82 million. I don't know. It's frustrating for me. I feel like production should be production should be rewarded, okay? So if the guy's not playing well, you keep paying him more money, he's not going to play better, okay? You need to cut the money, give him more incentives. He can still play up to his money, or if he doesn't, you can cut him. Von Miller from Buffalo had an incentive-laden contract. Okay, that worked out for Buffalo because he didn't hit those incentives, so they cut him. Boom, see you, buddy. Not saying that Von Miller's not a good player, but he didn't play well last. He looks old. Okay, so he has an incentive-heavy contract that gave Buffalo Bills the freedom to say, "Hey, man, get on out of here." Okay, all right. The NFL also announced compensatory picks in the NFL draft. This is for teams. There are a couple different reasons you get compensatory picks. First, if you lose a lot in free agency, so you lose a lot of players or you lose a lot of talent, you get compensatory picks from rounds 3 to 7 in the draft. Miami Dolphins got 4. San Francisco 49ers got 4. Dallas Cowboys got 4. Baltimore Ravens got 4. This is not necessarily a bad sign. It generally is a bad sign. You're losing high-priced guys. But if you're doing it to restructure your contracts, maybe it's going to be okay. I think for the Ravens, it's okay because they have a lot of their big guys under contract. Also, 3 teams got compensatory picks in the 3rd round specifically because they hired minority candidates to their head coach or GM position, some kind of management position, some upper-level position. They're trying to promote minorities to make sure we have more diversity in the league, okay? 49ers got one of those. LA Rams got one of those. Detroit Lions got one of those. Good job for being inclusive in your hiring practices and not discriminating against people. Discrimination isn't cool, guys. It's not cool. All right? And the CFL, a few things happened. The BC Lions, as British Columbia Lions over in Vancouver, they signed American defensive back Johnny Dixon. He played at Penn State. The Montreal Alouettes were a busy team today. They went through and signed American linebacker Christian McFarlane, played at Idaho State. They also restructured the contract of American quarterback Davis Alexander. Now, generally, when you restructure a contract, you're reducing the guy's pay, giving him more signing bonus, so that way you can free up cap space. Okay? But the CFL's kind of past the point of freeing up cap space. Free agency is over with, not complete, but the main flurry is over with, the frenzy is over with. So now we're looking forward for the draft. You know what I'm saying? So to restructure his contract to give him more money in straight cash and free up salary space doesn't make sense. But here's what does make sense. He was the backup last year behind Cody Fajardo, okay? Cody Fajardo is out. Boop. He went to Saskatchewan to be a quarterback there after winning the Grey Cup 2 years ago. Davis Alexander is the new starter, at least on paper right now, for the Montreal Alouettes. I'm thinking they restructured the contract to pay him more money. He was getting backup quarterback pay, which is probably around $150,000 Canadian, okay? But top-level quarterbacks in the CFL get roughly $500,000 to $600,000 Canadian. So I can see him getting boosted up to maybe $300,000 or $400,000 because now he's a starter. So he should get paid more money if he's a starter, okay? But we'll see what happens. We may get more details on that, and we might not. That's how the CFL works sometimes. Sometimes we learn more, and sometimes we don't learn more, okay? Yesterday, earlier today, this Memphis Showboats signed running back Jalen Jackson. He played at Villanova. He spent some time with Jacksonville Jaguars. Memphis Showboats need a running game. They need an offensive line, really. But the running game will go a long way in the UFL. Helps you control the pace of the game, the tempo of the game, and helps you level the playing field some. That offensive line is horrible for the Showboats, at least it has been. So to help protect your quarterback, you need to be able to run the ball and have some play action. So maybe Jalen Jackson will do that. Overall, of course, I want the Brahmas to win, and the UFL want them to win the UFL championship this year. Boom, horns forward. But we want the rest of the league to get better. Last year was really unpleasant with 3 teams being horrible in the league. It's only an 8-team league. The playoff field was determined by the end of week 8. That's boring. Let's get better, Showboats. Let's put a good product on the field that people want to come watch. Memphis struggled with attendance because their team was unpleasantly bad. Let's get better, okay? All right. That's it for the transactions. We talked about the NAL, my predictions. I went 2-2. Tomorrow is the official start of free agency for the NFL. Wait 1 second. I'm having a lot of dry mouth issues today. I'm just getting better at this podcast situation, trying to get better. I'm not a pro yet. I'm working on it. Okay, I'm working on it. But I'm adding a new portion of the show today, and Ziggy's going to help me. Ziggy the Zebra. Hey guys, I'm Ziggy the Zebra. Ziggy's going to help us because one of his favorite teams. They're my favorite team. They're one of your favorite teams. Because you're the closest thing we have to a horse. Okay. Is going to help me present something I'm going to name each day from this point on the Gadzooks Team of the Day. What is Gadzooks? That means, oh no, what did this team do? What did this team do? Gadzooks. Today's Gadzooks Team of the Day is the Indianapolis Colts. Why? Because if you look at the record of quarterbacks, this looks real bad for Daniel Jones, especially considering they've lost all their best offensive linemen to free agency. So here's the situation. For 20 years or so, who was the quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts? Peyton Manning. And he was awesome. But then Peyton Manning hurt his neck. He got injured and went to Denver. Because the Colts didn't want him anymore. Yeah, the Colts didn't want him anymore, Ziggy. That's right. So then they bounced around with some quarterbacks. Bounced around, meaning they didn't have a quarterback. And then they picked up Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck, first round pick. Boom, they tanked and got a first round pick. Boom, we're going to get better. Yay! But then Andrew Luck did not get protection. Oh, no. And his first 3 years, he won some games, but he got the poop kicked out of him. The poop kicked out of him. That's not cool. And he missed a year for injury. He came back. He had another good season, but because he was still getting the poop kicked out of him, he ruptured a kidney. That's not a normal NFL injury. Ruptured a kidney. He could have died. Could have died. Okay? He could have died. Since then, the Colts quarterback room has become a quarterback graveyard. That's right, quarterback graveyard. In 2019, who are the quarterbacks 2019? Jacoby Brissett and Brian Hoyer were the quarterbacks for the Colts. Neither finished the season. Maybe Hoyer, but not by very much. 2020, they picked up Phillip Rivers. Okay, they thought he was going to take them to the playoffs, and he did pretty well. But then he was out. Retired. Then they picked up Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz from the Eagles. He was part of a Super Bowl run. He wasn't the Super Bowl quarterback. Nick Foles was. He won the Super Bowl. But Carson Wentz was on the team. Carson Wentz was on the team. That's right. After 1 year, they said, "You're not any good, Carson Wentz. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here, buddy. See ya, Carson Wentz. You're a Panther." Ew. Then the Colts in 2022 picked up Matt Ryan in his last year of football. Is that a surprise? No! The Colts killed him! He was cool, but then he was gone. Goodbye. The Colts hate you, and everyone hates you too. Thank you, Matt Ryan. Then they went through Sam Ehlinger. Who? And then they had Nick Foles finish the season. Okay, but we haven't heard from Nick Foles since. What? Oh, no! He's gone too? It's a quarterback graveyard. Yes, it's a quarterback graveyard. Then in 2023, they picked up Gardner Minshew, the most interesting quarterback in the NFL. Interesting. That's not a compliment, Gardner. And then Gardner was moved out of the way for first-round draft pick Anthony Richardson. Wow, first-round draft pick. I bet he's really good. No, he was pretty average at Florida, maybe below average. Played 8 games, was injured, and didn't play well, but they still drafted him high. And mid-season, they moved Gardner Minshew out, boop, and they brought in Anthony Richardson, boop. But then Anthony Richardson has been an utter disappointment, a meltdown of a quarterback. What do you feel about Anthony Richardson? He's never gotten a fair chance. Why do you do this, Colts? You're killing another quarterback. And yet another quarterback is going to be entered into the mix. Daniel Jones, who once was a promising young quarterback for the New York Giants, who once got a major payday. Major payday! is now going to pay their price for that major payday and failing the Giants fans. Failing the fans by going to the Colts on a team in which the offensive line have all bailed. See ya, Daniel Jones. He went there because he wants to be a starter. Oh no! Oh no, he's going to get hurt. He's going to get hurt. In my mind, what the Colts quarterback room is, it's the Colts version of the Squid Game. It's like the Squid Game. Squid Game. People come to Indianapolis to get paid, but instead they get eliminated. They get eliminated. Goodbye, quarterbacks forever. They get ejected from the league. Now Daniel Jones will be the next quarterback to face the curse of the Indianapolis Colts and try to avoid being kicked out of the league forever. Goodbye, Daniel Jones. We will miss you after this year. Goodbye, Daniel Jones. We feel so sad for you. He's not going to make it. All right. That was another episode of Football Scientific. It wasn't my best episode. We had a few technical difficulties. I got me messed up with the linebacker going to the Falcons from the Niners. Okay. And then I had a dry mouth situation. I had to keep getting a drink. Ziggity Zebra saved us, though. Thanks, guys. That's right. Thanks, guys. We will have shows like this. This is an uncut version of the show. It's unedited. It is straight up punk rock, y'all. As I've been inspired by my personal hero, Mike Burkett of NoFX. I'm going to have a great show. I'm going to have fun doing it. And it doesn't matter if people say, wow, that's cool, because we already know it's cool. We know it's cool because it's real. It's not AI. Boo AI. Make sure you check out my articles on UFL News Hub. I wrote one today about the San Antonio Brahmas' new addition to their roster. Check out CFL News Hub. Check out my Substack. It's Football Scientific on Substack. And of course, subscribe to this video and like this video. This wasn't my best work, but it's the way it's going to be. I'm making a video a day, no matter what happens. Colts, you're the Gadzooks Team of the week of the day, not of the week, of the day. Thanks for joining us for Football Scientific. I'll see you tomorrow for more football information. Boo!